And we're joined by Jim Armstrong, Sylacauga Parks and Recreation Department, and Jim kind of heads up that organization. Got a great board he works with. And Jim, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Happy Friday, isn't
Friday.
it?
It's Friday.
Yeah.
Week went by really fast.
Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Same to you.
A couple of things I want to talk about this morning, and one of those is your retirement. You're planning to retire in just a few months.
Just February the 23rd will be my last official day there. So
I can see the tears.
well, no, it's it's one of those kind of things you think about it and you think, God, but I'm ready to just sit back and.
What, 20 years?
Almost 20 years. Mm-hmm. And then I worked 25 years with Avondale Mills, so I feel like I've worked a long time, and it's time to spoil some grandkids.
Talk about some of the highlights of your time as director of the Parks and Rec.
I was looking through some stuff the other day, and my first day on the job for Parks and Rec, I opened a state bid. I had always worked in private industry, didn't know what I was doing, and that was for the Air Dome, which we all know how that went. But that was, I just walked into that, so we had to open that and do that. But that was one of the, I learned a lot from that experience. So I hit the ground running, I guess you could say, when I went to work. But just through the years, we've tried to redid the parks. We had a group of mothers that came, and we worked really hard to do that. And we've tried to keep them up. There's been some highs and lows, but all in all, it's been just a really good experience. I enjoy working with people.
You get to meet a lot of people in that position, for sure.
You meet, well, the way I look at it, I have 13,000 bosses. So, it's just been fun. I've had the opportunity to just see a lot of things and do a lot of things, so it's been good.
So, you retire in February.
Mm-hmm.
How many grandkids you got?
I have 2.
Okay. So you'll spoil them.
They keep me busy. So.
One project that you've been very instrumental and hands-on has been with our Veterans Park over at Pinecrest.
That kind of got started. We were having meetings, and in 2006, Sam Wright was mayor, and Sam called me in my office and says, Jimbo, he says, you're going to take over that Veterans project. He says, we ain't got any money, but make it happen.
All right.
So I had been, trying to sell a tile here and there and this kind of stuff. And finally, the previous council said, okay, we're going to do this. So it was not a one-man show by any stretch of the imagination. If it had not been for volunteers like Donald Kane and Steve Miller and just the list goes on that came out there, I don't know that we've ever gotten it done. And my staff is just, I can't say enough about my staff, how we came together in the final hours to make it look as nice as it is. And it's something that, Sylacauga can be proud of.
And the thing was jump-started a couple of times,
It was. And it's, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
When you ride down at night and it's lit there on 280, or when the wind is blowing and all the flags are doing, it's just, Sylacauga can be proud of that. So that makes me happy that, we've got something like that, something that other cities don't have.
And when we had the ribbon cutting, to have the governor to come, that's pretty high.
It was. Even with, it's just amazing that, and I've always said, if everybody pulls in the same direction, it's phenomenal what you can get accomplished. We've got to have that mindset that, let's work together as a team. And I think that's what at Park and Rec we've been able to do, because if we're doing a project, it doesn't matter if it's me or whomever, we get in there and get in the ditches together and make it happen. So
there are mega services that are provided through the Parks and Rec.
We do everything from, in the summer we do day camp. We feed about 80 plus people a day, 5 days a week. When we're, if it's not a holiday, that has to happen every day. You think of the children that come through our sports programs. Making sure that we check parks every day to make sure that we keep them as clean as we can keep them, that everything is safe. There's just, aside from the people that come in and do yoga, just using a room for a meeting. I mean, this just a job fair or this. I mean, every banquet that happens, most of the time is at the rec. So we're touching people or their lives in some kind of way all the time.
And certainly it is a plus to have Sylacauga Parks and Rec for our seniors as well.
So, seniors are, I worry about them. The COVID situation has really put for lack of a better word, a damper on our seniors because they're still afraid. We've got some that are venturing out, and I think as the spring comes on, maybe more will venture out. We do a lot with that. I mean, and I've got a good staff there. I mean, so we touch from small children to older in life.
And basketball games been played in that gymnasium?
There's been a lot of basketball games. In fact, we're about to fire that back up again. We go from one sport right into the other. We finished soccer and football and volleyball, and we go right into, our first game will be right after the first of the year. So we'll have tryouts next week for our team. So there's a lot of kids.
Zach will be there. He's fired up about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So.
Hey, it takes a lot of people to drive this train.
Mm-hmm. It does. But we have, through the years, we've had some cuts and this kind of stuff. And that there again, my staff, we just always, where there's a slack point, we just pitch in and make it happen.
Now, funding for the Parks and Rec comes through the city.
Through the city.
And there's always a need. Always in a huge operation like this.
And I'm one that, I try to make do with that's just the way my daddy raised me. You do with what you've got. So I've always tried to make it happen with what the city gave me without having to go and ask, because I figure this is what you've given me to live on, this is what I got to live on. So, if I ever went to the city council, I really was serious about it. We needed this. So, and we've done well. We've been able to, they call me a squirrel because I'll, stick a little money back till we can get a little bit saved up, and then we'll go purchase something or this kind of stuff. So,
one thing that has really been an issue has been our swimming pool and talk of another civic center or something along those lines. What are your thoughts on this? We've been a lot of talk. We don't have a swimming pool here in our city. We don't have a splash pad here in our city. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, we need a pool bad.
For various reasons.
Well, we have not provided swimming lessons to children in Sylacauga in over 2 years. All right. I can go back in my little computer that I've saved since 2011, 12, something like that. And my computer crashed before that. I could go back further. But I have those where I wrote letters when I turned my budget in, asking them to do some stuff to the pool. We needed to do, and it was one of those kind of things, you finally get to the point when you're plugging holes that you run out of fingers. We need a pool, and in my mind, and if we're going to do a pool, we need something that we can go into the future with. And that's one of the reasons that I've pushed for an indoor facility, because I know that that's going to benefit my seniors, it's going to benefit my children, it's going to benefit the entire population, because that will be something that we can use 12 months out of the year. My seniors can do their water aerobics 12 months a year in a warm facility. And that's one of the best exercises for arthritis, this kind of stuff, because it doesn't put stress on joints, and our seniors need that. Plus, I can offer swimming lessons year-round to children at any given time. So, in my mind, that's the best thing for Sylacauga. Now, I'm not saying that if somebody has a better idea, I'll listen to anything. Right. But in my mind, that was what's best for Sylacauga. So I guess that's why I pushed that.
So in your 20 years, you've been a part of the pool as it is now. We've had a lot of issues with that there.
The pool is one of those kind of things that the year that we flip the switch off, and the valves are still closed, so I've never emptied it. It's just the water that's not in there is because it just went away. You know, we spent over $20,000 in water and chemicals that last summer. Well, you know, I'm a steward of money that the taxpayers pay. Well, if I'm spending that kind of money on something, then I'm not a good steward for the cities, the money the cities gave me. So, you know, I think we need to do something, you know, and I didn't want it to be an unsafe environment, because it comes back on me, and that'd be something I'd have to live with for the rest of my life. And I just didn't feel like it was safe. You know, the gunite on the sides of the pool is not exactly like it should be, you know, and you don't notice it till the water's not there. Yeah. But I mean, me being there most every day, you know, so I think we need to do something, you know, and if they decide to put a pool back there, okay.
How many parks do we have here?
We have Fairmont Park, which is pretty large, and it's more of a community park. You've got Noble Park, which is right there in the middle of everything. You've got Beth Yates Park. You've got South Highland Park. You've got the walking track at Pinecrest, and then you have Moon Park, which is a green space. It's an older park that kind of is in a little community, then it's kind of, you know, we turned it into a green space. So you've got at least 5 parks in our little city, which is pretty big.
And has to have upkeep.
Has to have upkeep, and then we also have the complex that takes an enormous amount. We cut grass in the summertime, well, during the grass season, at least 3 times a week, just to make the fields playable and this kind of stuff. And that doesn't count the fertilizer and the sand and the aerating and all this kind of stuff that you do to a complex. Oh, and I forgot Central Park. That's huge, you know. So there's a whole lot of grass that gets cut during the summer.
Wow. Jim Armstrong, our guest this morning, director of the Sylacauga Parks and Rec. You're in Sylacauga, be retiring in February, and a gentleman going to be kind of walking in your shoes, Steve. Of course, he's going to do a fantastic job, and I know you and he have worked hand in hand a lot of years.
Steve has been on staff for about 12 years, and I couldn't have, if I had picked him, I couldn't have picked a better person to come in behind me. Steve is going to do really, really, really great things. I mean, Steve is, I won't say sometimes I want to kill him, but he is very, very detailed oriented, and he's already hit the ground running, asking questions, trying to learn, trying to do, you know, see where all the bones are buried. But he's going to do just an amazing job. And I think he's going to make Sylacauga proud.
Yeah, we're talking to Steve Masters, of course, who's been the athletic director there. And when we look at our recreation center here in Sylacauga, you know, you got Church in the Highlands that's in there, and what a huge plus they've been to our community.
It's been good. It's been a shot in the arm for us, because they use our facilities on Sunday, which afforded us to, most days our facility sat empty on Sunday. So it was a plus for us, and we've been able to use some of the rent money to do some things that we normally wouldn't have the money to do. So it's been good, and they've been good partners, and they're good partners for the city, you know. So they have about 2 or 3 more years on their lease. So we'll see where that goes from there.
Yeah. It's a holiday season, and things, I don't know, did they slow down for the Parks and Rec?
You just go from one thing right into the other. I mean, you know, every day's a new day. You never know what kind of phone call you're going to get, you know, to help with this, to do this. So we just come in every day with a smile on our face and do it.
Now, those of you who may not know Jim, Jim's one of those guys who he's a good steward. And that comes from his family upbringing, but your relationship with the Lord is something that a lot of people don't know that much about, but it's very important to you.
Yes, it is. I mean, you know, my parents took me to church from the time I was old enough to, you know, and I was right. That's what you did. I mean, you know, but I don't mind saying that I'm a Christian, and I'm, you know, I believe in God, and I don't worry about what's going to happen to me if I walk out and get run over by a bus, because I know where I'm going to go. So, I mean, you know, I think it's important, and I've tried to raise my children that way. You know, it's important to be, how do I put it? I'm not flashy with it. I think you just live by. Yeah. People should see that in your life as you live every day. Sure. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, because I can lose my mind sometimes. So, which I think we all can.
Oh yeah, you know, no doubt about it. Finally this morning, the importance of having a viable, progressive Parks and Recreation Department for a city our size.
It is very, very important that we do that. We provide, you can't put figures on it. You can't put numbers on it, because we provide a quality of life. And if you do not have a quality of life in a city, then the city's not going to grow. So we need something that will provide not just for children, not just for, it's got to provide for everybody. We've got to add something to enhance the quality of life, because if we've got a good quality of life here, you know what that does? That's going to make people want to come to Sylacauga. It's going to make businesses come to Sylacauga. So quality of life is key. And you add that quality of life to that, you add it to our school system, you add it to our health care, this kind of stuff. That's what's going to make Sylacauga grow even bigger. You know, so, and I think we're right on the cusp of just blowing up, you know. But if we can continue to remember that Parks and Recreation and what we provide, you can't put a number figure on it. It's all about the quality of life that we provide or try to provide for our citizens.
In the 20 years that you've been with the Parks and Rec, and how long have you been the director?
From the day one, wow. I came straight in. I jumped straight.
Is that why you have gray in your hair?
I guess so. I guess so.
I know there's been a lot of things that happened down through those 20 years, but a good news story that sticks out in your mind where, wow, we are making a difference in our community. I know there's a lot of them.
There's just, you know.
Even if it's, you know, sometimes a child will just be having a bad day and they come through the Parks and Recreation Department and that's their bastion right there, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you go into the stores in town and you see a child that came through your programs, whether it was day camp or this kind of stuff, and you know that you had just a small portion in that child's life growing up, and they're now an adult, and you think they made it, you know, and they're really, really good people. I mean, and I've had that opportunity not from just the rec standpoint, but being on staff and being over the youth choir at First Methodist for all those years. I mean, a lot of my kids that came through now have their own kids, and you know, when you see a child that you watch grow up and they have a child now that's driving, you're thinking, oh my star.
Trying to retire.
But I mean, when you see what kind of person they've turned into, and they're a good person, and you had just a little bitty part of that, it makes you feel like, well, I didn't do so bad after all.
Yeah. Jim Armstrong, thank you for being a good person, being a good steward for our city. Jim Armstrong, the director of Sylacauga Parks and Rec, retiring in February, and I know he'll enjoy his retirement. Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Merry Christmas to you, and a happy anniversary yesterday.
Absolutely, that is right. You didn't forget, did you?
I did not forget.
All right, more Daybreak coming up right after this.